Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas, on Saturday, January the 31st. Talking here with our good friend George Rodriguez from South Texas. George, it's always great to see you. How is it? How is the weather down there?
Well, we're supposed to get another cold spell here for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually been quite pleasant for winter for us. It's been in the 60s and the low 60s.
That's
We're
nice.
supposed to get down to the low 20s tonight and tomorrow night, and but then we're going to bounce back again, and sometime late in the week we're going to get back up to 70 degrees. So
Yeah, well, that's almost. I think that's pretty close to what it is going to be here. We were like in the low 20s this morning, and it's like 29, I think, right now. Then tomorrow morning it'll be again in the low 20s, and then in the afternoon it'll heat up. I think during the week there will be 50s and 60s for highs. So that's as they say, Texas weather. If you don't like it, wait 2 days,
yeah,
as they like to say. Well, I want to bring up something here interesting. I think that I want to get your reaction. I wrote a post today about the over at the American Thinker about the fact that Mexico is cutting Cuba off, at least for now. They say they may come back to it later, and it's created a lot of confusion in Mexico because the president of Mexico didn't know how to explain it when she was in her press conference. First of all, she said, "Well, this was a decision made by Pemex, and these contracts come and go and they expire." And most Mexicans said, "No, we don't believe that. we don't, we don't believe that explanation, Madam President. Try something new." And she had a hard time with it, but what it basically came down to is that Lopez Obrador, the previous president, had created this subsidiary of Pemex to sell well, they don't really sell it; they give it away to Cuba, and he got caught doing it. And apparently, Secretary Rubio, when he was down there, said, "Hey, look, we're not stupid. We know what you're doing, so cut it out." And I guess that's where we are now. Of course, this is a real big blow to Cuba because they've been depending on free oil from Venezuela and from Mexico. Venezuela is out, no more free oil there. And Mexico is out as well. And I thought it was interesting, George, this is not related to Mexico, but Russia basically said, "Hey, we're not going to give you oil unless you buy it," which, which I thought was kind of an interesting remark coming from Putin. So I guess the Castro brothers, or not the Castro brothers, but one of them who's still alive, is sort of kind of figuring out, this is what the end looks like probably for
no,
that
they painted
horrible
themselves into a
regime.
corner. Yeah, they painted themselves into a corner.
They sure did.
There's an old adage that says you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And in the 1940s, 1950s, that's exactly what the United States was doing, was feeding Cuba. Cuba had a great economy that lived off of the United States, the primary trader, and then they stopped
Right.
because they were going to be independent and socialist. Well, how does that work out?
How did that work out? And you're right. I mean, the United States and Cuba had a great trading economy or trading relationship. Of course, a lot of it was sugar that the United States would sell to, or Cuba would sell to the United States. But coming back to Cuba were a lot of American companies that were down in Cuba. And a lot of Cubans used to work for those companies. They were a lot of the names that a lot of us remember, like, for example, Sears, the retail company was down there. Um, Lots of other companies, manufacturing companies that were down in Cuba. A lot of, like, for example, Del Monte, the vegetable food company, uh, Kellogg's, the cornflakes. I mean, there are all kinds of American companies down there that actually employed a lot of people. And they were all confiscated, which is why we got the embargo. But anyway, you're right, though. You're right. The U.S. relationship with Cuba was very good for Cuba. And Castro decided that he wanted to break all of that, and he did. And here we are.
Let's face it, the Russians didn't have the money to buy what
No,
Cuba had to sell.
no, and the truth of the matter is the Russians really don't want to subsidize Cuba. I mean, the Soviet Union did for 30 years, and that's over. And Putin, I mean, he doesn't need to subsidize Cuba. What does he get out of it? So anyway, it looks like the end.
It does.
We're close to the end for the Cuban regime now that the Mexico.
We should send flowers.
Yeah, we should send Claudia a thank you note saying Claudia. But it was not easy for her, George, as you know.
I'm sure it wasn't.
Because she's emotionally, I mean, she's on that side of the ledger. She's a left wing. She's kind of a classic socialist. And she was always very fond of the Cuban government. And, not anymore.
I mean, what if they are such intellectuals when it comes to politics and policies, and they are socialist, it's almost like it's an oxymoron. I don't understand how you really believe that socialism is good if you're an intellectual and you have studied these things.
Right. I mean, it's obvious that it doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, the example after example that it doesn't work, but I guess they still say, it didn't work 6,000 times, but let's just try it one more time.
Right, exactly.
And let's see if it works now. But anyway, interesting situation. By the way, before we go too deep into serious stuff, I want to wish a happy number 79 to Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
Who is 79 years old today. And I have to tell you, if you've ever seen, I had the chance to see him pitch several times for real at the stadium. And the man, you needed special glasses to follow the ball. I mean, it was so hard. I mean, he threw so hard that I don't know how, honestly, I don't know how the batters got around to it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was unbelievable. So I saw him pitch here in Arlington a few times. I saw him pitch in Maryland a few times with the Orioles when I was going to school there. And I mean, the guy was unbelievable. I don't know what to say. He was just unbelievable. And another great trivia question about Nolan Ryan. He was the first, you're going to laugh at this, but he was the first $1 million player in Major League Baseball. And that happened after 1979 when Houston signed him. The Astros gave him the first $1 million contract.
Wow.
In Major League history. And of course, now if
you give a player a good player $1 million contract, it's an insult.
Well, not only that, but it's not even the minimum salary. I think the minimum salary now is over $1 million. I think we're pretty close to it. But anyway, Nolan Ryan. I mean, if anybody deserves money, I mean, if anybody made money for the owners, it's got to be Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
So in fact,
he attracted people to come see.
He sure did. In fact, one time I was talking to a friend about this, and I said that Nolan Ryan is actually underpaid. If you actually calculate, and I remember when he played here with the Rangers, the nights that Ryan would pitch, there would be 15 to 20,000 more people. Let's say average attendance was 15,000 for a game. When he pitched, there were between 35 and 40, whether it was a night game or a weekend game. So he himself was generating that extra audience or those extra tickets.
Yeah.
And who knows how many people were watching because of him on TV. So he was probably, in that sense, he was probably underpaid.
Yeah.
Because if they had paid him,
gotten a cut of the
give him a cut of the gate.
Yeah,
probably, who knows how much money he would have made. So happy number 79 to Nolan Ryan, who was born in Alvin, Texas, not far from Houston. All right, George, let's begin with two of our favorite people. I know they're your favorite people. Talarico and Crockett, who are in a primary. And I'm going to guess, and you're going to confirm it or deny it. I assume you're going to confirm it, that they're in a pretty close campaign. And that probably we're going to have to go to a runoff. And Talarico, from what I'm watching, George, tell me if you're watching the same thing. But Talarico seems to be he wants to go to the left, and he's saying some things about ICE and the border that are the words of a man who's not thinking ahead to the general election, because it's going to really hurt him in the general election. But he's moving to the left, and is that what you're watching too, George?
I mean, from the very, very beginning, you and I have been talking about how the biggest handicap that Talarico has is that he is a white male running in it for a high position in the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party has done everything but discriminate openly against white males.
Right.
So, the issue has been how does he play the game? And it's obvious now that he is going to play the game by going to the left of this radical black woman. If he can be more radical than the black woman, then maybe he can beat her. But again, if he does that, how are the rest of the people going to look at him?
Right. That's the key. I mean, because I heard him say that we need to open borders more. We need to be more compassionate, open more borders. And I'm sitting there saying that's not going to play well when you go into a general election. Just not going to play well.
Apparently, he thinks that that's going to play well with Hispanics in South Texas, but it's not. He is obviously ignoring the fact that South Texas went for Trump,
right,
because of the of the border crisis. And here we are. He's going to repeat it.
Right. And there's something interesting too, George, that I think you know about this a lot. South Texas didn't just go for Trump in 24. In 24, maybe they went further for Trump. But even in 2020, there were many surprises in South Texas. We used to talk about that back then. Yep. There were many surprises down there, where I think a lot of Hispanics who live down there, who I assume most of them are Mexican Americans or of Mexican American descent, were watching this immigration thing and saying, "Hey, wait a minute." And I think when they had 4 years of Biden, then they decided to go for Trump in 2024 and in larger numbers. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one big mistake the Democrats make, George, is to think that Hispanics are in favor of illegal immigration. They're not.
Exactly. They keep playing the race game with Hispanics like they played with the blacks. Blacks can tend to be much more politically monolithic than Hispanics. Hispanics, for example, here we have a Hispanic of Mexican descent talking with one of Cuban descent. So, I mean, we may have last names that are of Spanish origin, but it's like trying to say that Czechs and Poles and Slavs are all the same.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. And I think on the border, there's the people on the border, the people who live in all those border towns were really the ones who paid the price.
Exactly.
For the crazy immigration policies, because they're the ones who were receiving the people. They're the ones who, in many cases, were faced with shortages in school districts and stuff like that. So they were seeing the crime as well.
Hospitals that wouldn't take them.
Exactly.
The daily car chases,
right.
wreck. This situation again is one where also in the economics is that the majority of poor counties in Texas are along the border, have historically been along the border because of the economic displacement that illegal aliens have always done in job competition, economic competition with Americans of Mexican descent. I mean, it is so obvious, and I cannot believe that Democrats continue to ignore that. And the only reason they do ignore it is because you've got loudmouths like the Texas version of the Castro brothers, who scream and yell about racism constantly, and like somehow if you scream loud enough, manna's going to fall from heaven and you're going to be okay.
Right. But I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that the Jasmine Crockett is so radical when it comes to immigration, because my experience is that a lot of Black Democrats are not.
Exactly.
Exactly. Now maybe it's because it's Trump, and they have to oppose.
It's got to be. It's got to be, because I just don't think that if they think logically, if a person thinks logically of the impact of unvetted, open immigration. Right. That it doesn't have an impact on the lower classes, then you're either stupid or just ignoring it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think we saw that in South Texas, but clearly, I mean, look, there was Trump has changed everything in the sense that Democrats are opposing anything he does.
Yeah.
If Trump tomorrow morning were to say, I'm going to give amnesty to every illegal immigrant in the country, the Democrats would say, you cannot do that. You can't do that because that's going to hurt the workers and it's going to create all kinds of problems. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that it's all about Trump with these people. There's
Exactly.
no other. Yeah, it's all about Trump. If Trump says yes, they have to say no, and that's why I think they miscalculate so often. But I would, if I was advising the Jasmine Crockett campaign, I would say, hey, take a tough stand on immigration, because I think you'll get more black votes if you do that, and you'll be more competitive in the fall if you, in fact, make it that far. And I don't know who's going to make it, but one of the two, of course, will. But you sent me a poll where they're basically tied, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yep.
And wasn't there a poll before that had him up by 9 or something, and now they're tied?
Yeah. Yep.
So what do you think it is? Your gut feeling, what is it telling you? Is it close to a tie or one of the two ahead?
I think it's becoming closer and closer of a tie, particularly since he is bending more down to her.
Right.
And she is trying to appear less radical in debates and on TV. She's trying to appear less radical. So I mean, it's like both of them. Both of the lines are starting to come together in some form or fashion. Ultimately, though, the lines are going to end up below what the Texas voter really likes. So
right, that's right. But I of course, Jasmine Crockett, George, has a problem with Hispanic men from before. So she has to, figure how can she reconcile with that group. And I don't know, Talarico, it seems like he walks around with a Bible, and in every other part of the speech, he's making a reference to the Bible, which of course, I'm a Christian and I think it's great that people are reading the Bible, but I'm not sure God intended the Bible to be used for every little program that mankind came up with. You know what I mean?
Justifying your political policies.
Yeah, it's like people who are using the Bible to criticize.
I think he sees himself as John Brown, trying to free the slaves or something like that by any means.
He is a minister, though, isn't he? Is he a minister or practicing?
I'm not sure. I think I know that he is a churchgoer. Maybe he is. Maybe he is a minister in his church in some kind. But
I mean, and that's okay. And that's okay.
This is all going to play out because you have some very, very antagonistic people towards Christianity in general. Never mind the Bible, among the Democrats. So I think the whole thing is just an oxymoron, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Now, some of the more interesting primaries that we're going to have, George, are going to be down your way in South Texas. I see that the governor endorsed Tino. Is it Tino Tijerina?
I mean, Tino. Yes. Gosh, what's his name?
I think it's Tijerina. Right? Yeah. Who's running against? I believe against Cuellar, right? He's the one running.
He'll be running against Cuellar.
Yeah, and the governor endorsed.
He's in the primary, and in the primary there were a couple of people who were starting to surface, but I think that they. I don't think that they really have a chance.
Well, as we get closer to the primaries, which is of course in a month, we're going to try to maybe in one of our shows we'll try to do sort of like a district analysis and look at some of the candidates. But in general, George, when you look at the potential Republican nominees in all of these primaries, do you think that the party is doing well recruiting strong candidates in South Texas?
I think so. I think that first of all, not only recruiting them, but you're seeing a lot of them surface. You're seeing a lot of folks who are very, very good leaders, who are very, very good candidates within their own right, surfacing on their own because they see that this is now their opportunity, their time.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, you are getting a lot of folks who are being recruited seriously by the party, but they're doing it much more in a grassroots manner, which I think is very, very important. Historically, somebody from the party in Dallas or Austin would come down and pick somebody they liked, and they were the ones that everybody would get supposedly be told to get behind it. This time around, it's not. It's people that are local that are gaining support on their own, and this makes it much more, in my opinion, grassroots, a very, very good, very good candidates to challenge the Democrats.
Right.
On the other hand, the Democrats are just, I mean, they seem confused. They really do. They don't know which way to go. You've had some very, very strong Democrat leaders for the party, for the state party, coming out of Brownsville in the past, and now, you don't hear from them about it at all.
Right. Well, that's right, and I think you're seeing this in the whole country, actually, because if you look at the way Democrats are reacting to ICE, and this is nationwide now, reacting to ICE and anything that Trump does, I think that the biggest fear that Democrats have these days is a primary. That to me is the biggest fear they have. Most of these districts, they're going to win. They're Democrat districts, so they're going to win. But the biggest fear they have is a primary from the left. So the only way they can get vaccinated against a primary from the left is, in a way, to do what Talarico is doing, which is to go left. So all of a sudden you have Democrats across the country who were big supporters of immigration. I mean, of border enforcement and tough immigration laws and all of that. All of a sudden they've gone the other way, not because they believe it, but simply because it is the only way they can protect themselves from a primary. Look at Henry Cuellar in 24. He got a primary from this lady from the left who literally just dropped in and almost beat him by 1,000 votes or something. I mean, that was a very close primary for him. And that's what I think a lot of Democrats are afraid of, that they're going to have a primary, and these, it as well as anybody, these people from the left who primary Democrats, they're extremely well organized. They've got the money. That's how Alejandra Ocasio-Cortez made it to the Congress. She took out an established Democrat, and they're scared to death of these people, and that's why I think they force themselves to go further to the left, because they want to protect themselves against that primary coming from the left. I mean, that's how I look at it, George.
Last week, there were some nasty letters to the editor in the Laredo Times about Henry Cuellar voting for funding
ICE?
of ICE, funding for DHS. I mean, the Democrats, the radical Democrats, the grassroots radical Democrats in Laredo and Webb County just had a meltdown over him.
Right. And
Henry, to his credit, stood by his guns and said, yep, that's what he voted. That's how he voted. And that's what the community needed.
Right.
And, that's a great example of what is happening across the country with Democrats, and right down here in South Texas. The other one is
Vicente, right? Vicente Gonzalez?
Vicente
Gonzalez, right?
Gonzalez is also, on the contrary, he has been very, very quiet, though. He is trying to play the rope-a-dope, in my opinion, so that the far left doesn't incorporate him or push him or press him. But they haven't been too happy with him as well. And there are very, very strong Republicans running at the county level and at the state level around in his area.
Now, Mayra Flores was the one he defeated the last time, right?
Correct.
Right, and I think she's running again too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that should be a competitive, and it's a district that favors Mayra Flores more than the last time around. because
Yeah.
when they
And
read through the
I
district.
think even if Vicente wins, even if he does win, he probably will end up surrounded by Republicans all over the place,
Yeah.
and that'll be very, very interesting because you know he'll have to respond and react to the needs of the community, which is now being led by Republicans. And we'll
Yeah.
have to see how that works out.
Now, the one thing I wanted to bring up is this whole operation, this ICE operation. Obviously, 2 people shot up in Minneapolis. I believe very strongly that I put the blame really on the police, on the political leadership that did not allow the police to protect the city, and I guess it's still going on. I saw some riots in L.A. Did you see that? The riots that were taking place in L.A. were, I mean, how much longer do these people think that they can just let violence like that happen? I mean, do they think that that's going to do they think these people are going to go home and get tired of making riots? I think that it just emboldens them to be
Oh,
more
it does.
radical.
And not only emboldens them, it also emboldens the illegal aliens. I mean, we're seeing many more illegal aliens resisting arrest, fighting the ICE agents and everything. I mean, I think Tom Homan said it very, very well yesterday when he said, look, if we wanted to avoid any problems, any confrontations, what should be happening is that the local law enforcement should be telling us when they arrest
Right.
an illegal alien. We'll go over there, pick him up, and that'd be the end of it. On the contrary, what's happening now is that we've got to, because they're not doing that, we're having to go into the community to pick them up. And that's where the problems are happening.
Right.
But I mean,
that's that doesn't happen in Texas. In Texas,
no,
the police
that's right.
turns them over. So you don't have to go into a neighborhood to look for the person.
That's right. That's right.
And that's,
it also makes our community safer because
sure.
a lot of the people that are getting picked up are people that have warrants for assault, for drunk driving, repeatedly drunk driving. I mean, these are things that endanger you when you're out on the street. You know, regardless if you don't think that, you know, well, I've never been in danger of an illegal alien. Yes, you have. You just don't know it.
Right. And again, the people that we're talking about here are 99% of these people, whether they're here legally or illegally, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's that 1% that represents a threat to society. They were a threat to society in their own country.
Exactly.
When they came here. So those are the people that they're going after. And it would help ICE a lot, and it would help their communities a lot if the local police would work with ICE, like happens in Texas, Florida. You know, they had this big operation in New Orleans. You didn't hear anything about anything there because the governor was supporting it. In Memphis, Tennessee, I didn't realize there was an operation there too, but there was. And there again, you have a Republican governor supporting the operation. If you simply tell the mayors, look, you have to work with ICE, whether you like it or not. If you arrest a person who doesn't have papers, you turn them over to ICE and let them worry about it.
Exactly.
And if they did that, then, you know, we're forcing ICE to go into communities to look for these people. And when you combine that with the fact that the local police is not protecting ICE and allowing
and
some
the
of
local politicians are screaming and yelling about ICE.
Right. So you have situations where you got the agents out there in the middle of their operation being exposed to some of these people who are driving cars and blocking traffic, or unfortunately, the incident with the guy who approached the police and you got dead people. Yeah. Again, I don't like the fact that they're dead people, but as somebody said the other day, they wouldn't be dead if they were in Texas, because in Texas they could have protested without ever getting into a fight with ICE. One more thing, speaking of Texas, you probably heard about this high school in Austin. Did you hear about that? There was a high school in Austin that let out the kids to go on an anti-ICE protest. Did you hear about that?
Well, we had even more so. We had several high schools here in San Antonio that did that yesterday.
My goodness, where? I guess I would ask, where are the parents? But the governor already wants an investigation of this. Right. What are kids doing marching during school hours? That doesn't make any sense to me. If
Yep.
if they want to have a march on
They
their
did
own,
a walkout on Wednesday. They did another walkout yesterday.
but I heard about the one in Austin. I didn't know about the one in San
Yeah,
Antonio.
in San Antonio, massive. In fact, there was one in Corpus as well. This was a very, very well orchestrated, organized event.
Well,
Yeah.
the placards sure looked like they were professionally done. That's the other thing. I mean, all their placards look that they just got printed this morning.
But you didn't want the kids to spell their own placards. So
No, you don't want them to have to work for it, so you just give it to them. But that's outrageous.
it is.
I hope that the governor comes down very hard on the school districts that do that. I don't know how much authority the governor actually has to do that. I mean, he can talk about it, but who would that go through? The Department of Education, I guess.
Yeah, the Texas State Texas Education Department of Education. Yeah,
but they have to do that. You
It
cannot
really,
have.
Why if they're going to protest, why can't they do it on a Saturday or after school?
That's right. Do it on their own time. But then the teachers. I mean, look, and this is the other thing. Teachers had to know this was going on, and that's the other thing.
Between you and me, I think the teachers union,
the
teachers union organized it.
Yeah. So here, I mean, if I have a kid in that school, the first thing I would do is complain to my teacher, and I'd say, "Look, did you know this was going to happen? Because I don't want my kid marching. I want him learning about reading and mathematics at 10 o'clock in the morning. Especially, I don't know what it was like in Austin, George, but here, the first 4 days of the week, the kids didn't even go to school.
No.
So they've already lost 4 days. So what are they doing the day they get back to school?
Well, as one teacher said here in San Antonio,
wow,
that they were learning about democracy.
Well, yeah. Okay. I guess
maybe about Democrats, but not about democracy. I don't
know. They were learning about how to misbehave.
Yeah.
And they were certainly learning about flags. I didn't see a lot of American flags.
No.
Maybe they were doing a trivia quiz to see who could name the most different flags. That irritates me, by the way, when people march with flags from other countries. I mean, come on. If you don't like the march with the American flag, go home. I'm serious. Go home. Go back to your country. Exactly. That is, and as you know, I came here as an immigrant. So I understand that, being from Cuba, but we always had a rule. And I think most Cuban Americans have that rule. That is, hey, we're Americans first and we're Cubans second. Now, we do have, for example, parties and Cuban events where you put the flag as a historical flag, because you want to remember that. But the American flag is always there because that's the way it should be. Well, George, I'm not sure what else to ask you, but you have actually told us quite a bit tonight. And as always, I'm very appreciative of your. I see we got our friend Enrique Garcia is telling us that he liked our program. So you got to say hello to Enrique the next time you come up, George. You got to say hello to him. And any trips? You got any trips planned?
I am going to Houston again in 2 weeks. I am hoping maybe to get an opportunity to come speak in Dallas as well.
Good.
Sometime soon. But
we like it when you come to Dallas. We have a chance to see you.
I enjoy coming to Dallas.
Plus, I think I owe you a breakfast from the last time you came.
Yeah.
Because the last time you were here,
we couldn't get.
Yeah, when we get together, we can talk about that because that turned out to be the biggest deal of my life. I invite you for lunch, and you end up paying. And I'm saying, wait a minute, George is a nice guy. I like this guy. But well, George, thank you so much for your time. It's absolutely great to chat with you again. And remember, as we get closer to the primary, maybe a couple of weeks from now, we'll get into more details into some of the specific. We'll do a show. We'll kind of go around some of the counties and just kind of see who the candidates are. Because I'm anxious to see what's going to happen in South Texas. That could be a real opportunity for conservatives down there.
Right. I think so. I really do.
All right, George, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Our good friend, George Rodriguez, he always always joins us on Sundays or weekends, I should say. Oh, there he is. And anyway, what did I do? Okay, I think I kind of cut myself off there accidentally, so sorry about that. But anyway, our good friend George Rodriguez, who joins us on weekends, either Saturday or Sunday, we talk about Texas. Some interesting primaries coming up in South Texas, as you know, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that, and of course, just Texas in general. But we have a big Senate primary on both the GOP and the Democrat side, so it's going to be a very interesting first Tuesday in March when everybody votes here in Texas. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.